here's what I like to call my tuna crate. We have a mesh crate bag that we've been playing around with at Hogy, and I have an inshore one and an offshore one. And as I like to say, if I can't fit it in my crate bag, I'm not going to bring it. So whether I'm inshore fishing or offshore fishing, everything I need for an entire trip is housed inside this bag. Now, I like to call it a day bag in the sense that it's also sort of your tackle station. Now, you can fill it with just plastic boxes, but you can also give it some structure like I have here with a milk crate. And I just want to take a minute to walk through my tuna crate. Well, for starters, I have these little pockets here. I got everything handy. I got my regular pliers, a little de-hooker, my crimpers, my scissors, and then lastly, my split ring pliers. I use split ring pliers all the time, particularly offshore fishing, where I swap out lures that are often attached to jigging or casting lines with a crane swivel and a split ring. As far as offshore lures for jig and pop for tuna, you really have three major food groups. You've got plugs, you've got jigs, and you've got soft baits. On my tuna crate, I have it consolidated down to 4 tackle boxes and a jig bag. We're going to start with this first one and work our way back, no particular order. But this box here is my large offshore grade poppers. These are the 7-inch charter grade poppers. I use the poppers in open water with scatter fish as a great lure to call them in. Sometimes here on Cape Cod, particularly east of the Cape or on the north side by the bay or Stellwagen Bank, there's a little too much bird life to mess around with poppers. But I tend to use poppers quite a bit in blue water where there's fewer birds. But large poppers like this are great for calling in scattered fish. Now my second box, which was the ticket today, is my box of sliders. And I carry these large 7-inch offshore grade sliders. And the big sliders are great for sight casting for fish, line casting in open water, and covering a lot of ground. It's a nice slow to medium reel retrieve lure. And no tuna crate is complete without a giant box of epoxy jigs. And you know, I like to say that bluefin tuna are basically big giant albies. They behave in a lot of the same ways. We were working, schools of bluefin today, for example. I was just commenting earlier today that it was just like albie fishing but bigger. So no collection of tuna lures is complete without the tuna epoxy jigs. Then lastly, I have my crate, my box here, which is filled with all my soft baits. For me, my soft baits for tuna consist of either harness jigs or pro tail paddles. Depending on what I'm trying to mimic, I'll switch back and forth. But a good rule of thumb is the harness jigs when the fish are keyed in on sand eels, and the pro tail paddles when they're keyed in on, fin fish like, herring or mackerel or that sort of thing. Then I have my vertical jig bag here. This is loaded up with sand eel jigs. Where I am on Cape Cod, I use a lot of the 12 and 16 ounce jigs. They'll switch hit for me for deep water tuna, but also, plan B codfish or haddock. We do a lot of cod and haddock fishing up here on the Cape. So I have a few different roll-up jig bags, and I have them sorted by size. I have the larger jigs here with me. So my last box here is my rigging box. It basically has all the terminal tackle, which would include swivels, split rings, crimps, chafe gear, extra hooks, extra inline hooks, extra treble hooks. Then you can see here I have some beaky rigs snuck in there to pair with my larger jigs. Again, for folks that know me know how much of a big fan I am of cod fishing. So there's a lot of cod in the same grounds that we target tuna here in the Cape, so make sure to have some of those teasers with me. I also have a few different knives in here. They fit nicely in the corner, particularly with the milk crate to give it structure. And my shorter knife is often the one I would use for bleeding a fish. The bigger knives for, just to have a fillet knife, but that comes in a little bit when I'm cleaning the fish. I have these sort of side areas, these catch-all areas. I got my heavy-duty fishing gloves in one catch-all area. And then my wind-on tuna leaders. I carry both casting and jigging leaders with me. The bag just has pouches all over. The idea of this mesh bag is, you know, it's almost impossible to keep spray-off bags. I used to joke that my waterproof tackle bags were great at like keeping the water in, because I always would seem to forget to zip them shut, and just I always found there was water in my bag. So I went the opposite direction, and you know, I jokingly call this my waterproof bag, because if it does get wet, get salty, these are all sealed tackle boxes. At the end of the day, I just give this thing a hose and I'm good. I'm just gonna rotate here for a minute. You'll see this clear pouch. This is where I keep my backup tails to my harness jigs. You can see, easy to find, easy to say, hey, so-and-so, can you grab my soft baits? You'll see them in the clear pocket. If I'm being honest, the lucky tuna beer holders are my favorite part of the bag, but my favorite functional aspect of the tuna crate is the fact that I can just hose the whole bag down and let it drip dry with my rods that I'm gonna rinse off from fishing. So I can just spray this whole bag, get all the salt, all the blood, everything. And again, it's my day bag, and I keep this bag around with me when I'm working. Everyone can find tools. If I need pliers in emergency, they all go back into their holders. And you're good to go. I wash my bag off at the same time I wash my reels off, and it just drips dry. And then I'll just take a peek to make sure all the water's drained out. So it's a really functional bag. Stays with me on the boat. My tools are always handy, and is, you know, like I said, my tuna crate, my day bag.